Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about whether a 3DS capture card was worth it in 2021. What is a 3DS capture card or DS capture card? So these are DS or 3DSs modded with a board that on a 3DS or DS that allows you to capture the video and feed that into a computer via usually a micro USB cable, and you can feed that video in and capture that through OBS or any other software that you choose to capture it in. It uses specific software for each one. There are two different main companies or people that do this. One is Katsukity, which was a company, I believe it's bankrupt now, but they do sell their cards. So if you're into soldering, you can get their capture cards and solder them if you want, but I will talk about that later on. Then there's also Loopy. His services are also not available at this point. But those are the ones that I would recommend if you're going for a 3DS or DS capture card. Let's go into, are these worth it? And that really is dependent on your situation. So my guess is that you want this capture card to, well, stream 3DS or DS games. All right, sounds good. But let's go into what that kind of means. One, what is your budget? Is your budget, are you just rocking them dollar bills? Doesn't matter. Then you're good. Go for it. First, go to eBay. You're gonna find these things. Usually, you may have to wait a bit, but right now there's like 3 on there that are all 3DS capture cards, I believe. If you're looking for a DS one, you may have to wait longer because those don't come up as often, but they do come up. So if you're looking for a DS one, specifically maybe a the only one that I know of that's usually on there is the Loopy ones. The one you see in the video, the silver ones that I actually bought for about $700. So they can range. One was on there for $450, anywhere $450 to $700. These things kind of range. The 3DS one will set you back around anywhere from about $800 to about $1,200, depending on what you're trying to get. The ones on eBay are usually Loopy ones that I see. The ones that you kind of want to avoid, and these are the ones that say wireless capture cards. You may be like, well, what's so bad about wireless? It's probably better. You don't need to hook up a cable. They're not good. Just trust me. First of all, they use modded software, which is fine in its own right if it works adequate. Usually a lot of these DS, which are wirelessly capture card, will either one, plainly not work that well, or just not work at all sometimes. I did try it myself and maybe I set it up wrong, but usually these are incredibly laggy and just do not do the job that well. You're going to have a very sad audience if you're streaming this, or if you're just playing this. It's going to be very laggy and it's not going to be fun at all. So I would avoid those ones. Those are about $200. In reality, you could do it yourself. So I would just save the money and not get those, unless you're lazy and you just really want it, whatever. But I would not recommend those. Your budget pretty much looks like anywhere, depending on what you want, anywhere from like $500 to about $1,200. Let's cut that out right now. If you don't have the budget, you probably not interested. If you want to stick around and see the rest of this, what I'm going to talk about, then by all rights, go ahead. But if you don't have the budget for it, probably not worth going for it. But stick around just because there are some other options that are budget friendly that I still want to go through. So definitely stick around. Second is I want to go through is an alternative to a 3DS capture card. Maybe you think that this might be your only option, which it is not. Obviously, I hope you wouldn't think that. You did some research for this. You may have come across Citra. Now, Citra is a free 3DS emulator which can help you play your games, provided you have them legally as well, physical copy. I do not recommend pirating. So make sure you do have those physically, so then you can also use the ROMs on there to play the games. Normally I would be like, okay, what does your computer look like? Well, I would just recommend installing Citra, installing a game and getting a game, playing that, and just seeing, does that work for you? Can your computer keep up? If you have anything modern in the last I'd say like 3 to 5 years. That's pretty modern. You're probably good. You're probably solid. I'm gonna say that it's gonna work really well. They used to have problems. Citra used to have definitely a lot of problems with playing XY, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon. They used to have a lot of problems playing those back when this was created around 2013, 2014, when these games came out. From now, they've pretty much made them very well playable if you have the right hardware. And usually, a lot of you are going to have the right hardware. So if you want that, go for Citra. One thing that I recognize with Citra is that, well, let's say you want to play your games, your save files, and want to transfer those back with Pokemon. You want to transfer those up to Pokebank at some point. Are you forced to get a 3DS capture card? Not necessarily. What you are going to have to be forced to do is mod your current 3DS, DS, or 2DS XL, whatever you've got, mod that system so you can include a save file. I think it's called like JKSM. It's basically a save file manager that you're going to be able to rip the save files off of your card and copy them onto your computer and use those in Citra, which is very nice. So then you'll be able to, after you're done playing with them and streaming, whatever, after a while, you can go and throw those back onto your DS, and that's going to allow you to like restore them back onto your card, and you're going to be able to use those saves and get your Pokemon up to Pokebank, or I forget, the Pokemon Home, and that's going to be awesome. That pretty much, I think, covers a lot of people here. So at that point in the video, you can just drop off if you don't really care. We're going to talk a bit more about 3DS capture cards. Let's say you want to play only on 3DS DS capture cards. Then I'm not going to stop you. Get a DS capture card. They're pretty nice. I like them, but that's not really, I mean, that's kind of where I was with this, where I wanted to play on a 3DS capture card. But the real reason is I'm a big tech enthusiast. I think these are really cool, and they're really cool history as well. I guess you would call that a tech history buff. But these were around the time where Nintendo wasn't really selling any DS capture card stuff. They really, their systems didn't support it for whatever reason. They missed out. They missed out on some big money. They did have this in tournaments like DS. When the games were out, they had to display them somehow. Apparently these were developer units that had this capture technology, and this was never released to the public, obviously, for whatever reason. Even though it wouldn't even have been that hard, I don't really understand it. They just didn't want this software out. But with the Switch now having HDMI and being what it is, as long as you're getting the full Switch, not the Switch Lite, then you're pretty good. You can stream stuff. This is just a thing of the past, but these are really cool. I've been showing some B-roll in the background. I wanted to talk about that. The ones that I have, I paid, you know, some good money for, around like 700 to 900 for each card. So yeah, you can probably add that up to see how much I paid for these. Originally, I actually had 3DS ones that I found back, how long ago that was, that like 2016 or something like that, 2015, where I used to stream, and I got those for $300 each, which wasn't actually that bad. Those were both 3DS Loopy cards. I actually sold them for $600, so I made a bit of a profit when times were a bit tough. So now that times are not that tough, I went back and bought some 3DS cards, obviously for a bit more than I originally bought them for back when, but I thought these were pretty cool. So we have one Loopy 3DS capture card, which is a purple one, and then we actually have a DS one from Loopy, which is just a regular DS silver one that I found. And then we also have one from Katsukity. Now, I wouldn't really have gone for Katsukity, but I did want to get all three of them since they are part of the history. Katsukity was a thing. People still have them, and they are using them, which I thought, you know what, let me get this, and it's going to be interesting text history, and maybe I can use it as well. It's pretty cool. So I like this. I'm a tech enthusiast. So that's just a bit about me and what my experience with capture cards are. So hopefully that answered the question, is a 3DS capture card worth it 2021? Hopefully that went over basically what I wanted to go over, and I won't have to hopefully answer too many questions if there is any. But yeah, hopefully you found this useful, and yeah, hopefully you have a good day, and see ya.